During a quick island stopover, an adventuring party gathers at the bustling port. Party leader Krot suddenly kicks Lime out of the group. The news hits like a physical blow, leaving Lime stunned and stammering for a response. Lime mutters in disbelief, but Krot stays ice-cold, demanding he leave the party 2 years after personally recruiting him. This elite squad features leader Krot, sorceress Emily, and the mighty warrior Jack. Stunned, Lime demanded answers, warning Krot that the party would lose his vital growth skill if he left. He turned away with a cold stare. It didn't matter. They didn't need him anymore. Rejected and exiled to Aden, a land where everyone is born with a skill, the weight of his uselessness crashes down on him. Skills in this land range from utility like item search to combat buffs like strength, abstract luck, or even debuffs like clumsiness. His rare good growth skill triples the XP of everyone nearby, letting adventurers level up at insane speeds from every single kill. His power supercharged crops and livestock, making him a master farmer. This versatility caught the party's eye, and they wouldn't stop begging him to join. His skill boosted Crod's team to the top, but Crod's cold voice snaps him back. He thanks Lime for the levels, then declares they're strong enough now. They hit the level cap and stopped growing, making Lime's skills obsolete. He's blunt in a fight. She's dead weight. He told Lime the truth. He was a money pit and a total liability. Lime was stunned. After all the cooking and chores, was he really just trash to them now? Emily calls him a parasite while Jack mocks his inability to kill even one monster, leaving Lime speechless from their combined hate. Frozen and sweating, he stammers, "Doublish, what did you say?" His mind races back to their start-weak low levels who could barely handle a rock golem. Lime's growth buff skyrocketed the party's levels, but Crop still views him as a useless parasite who'll only drag them down in harder quests. Crot cut Lime loose, warning that the road is too deadly for dead weight. He told Lime to head home or find work where his growth skill is actually useful. With a final wave, Kraut ends the deal. The trio heads out for their next adventure, leaving Lime frozen in shock. He watches from the docks as his friend's ship shrinks into a distant speck. Slumping onto a crate, he accepted his skill was useless in battle, but Kraut's insults still cut deep. Forget his next move. The label of burden weighed heaviest of all. Stranded on a foreign island, he maps the terrain, a port, a village, and this city, all wedged between the forest and mountains. Booted from his party and dead broke, he's stranded in Aden. He needs a ferry to the mainland, but he can't afford the fare. Walking a desolate path, he weighs his grim options. The port was a bust, so maybe a farm has work. He bitterly regrets not demanding severance pay. A drop hits his face. He looks up in dismay. It's starting to rain. The drizzle turns into a downpour. Soaked and frustrated, he needs shelter fast. He sighs. Even the weather's against him. But through the downpour, he spots a building. Shelter. He finds a cowshed and a low moo from inside confirms it. He steps inside to a nightmare skeletal cows, patchy fur, and diseased udders. The sight is sickening. Wondering where the owner is, he's ambushed by 2 cat kids. The boy swings an axe, demanding to know if he's a kidnapper, while the girl hides and Lime. 80 mark or less. Original 33 words. Target 20. 25 words. Draft. Lom stops short as 2 cat-eared. A boy brandishes a stick, calling Lime a milk thief and telling him to scram. Lime raises his hands, apologizing and insisting he's only seeking shelter from the rain. He flops onto the straw, admitting he's got nowhere else to go. The boy watches him, already pegging the stranger as a milk thief. She turns, breaking the silence. "Are you lost?" she whispers. He reveals her team abandoned her. Lime overhears, the word lost echoing as the truth finally hits him. He nods. She stares him down, asking if anyone's coming. He says no, and she presses, "Was he abandoned?" Lime's stunned. The girl realizes he was dumped too. They both admit the truth. The adults abandoned them. They were dumped here after living in a mansion. Lime realizes the rich now keep beautiful beast people as status symbols, and these kids were likely just pets. Beast people are stronger than humans. Treat them like normal kids and someone's getting hurt. They still have animal instincts. Like dogs need walks. These cat kids need scratching posts. Lime realizes these nobles dump people once they re-burden, seeing his own tragic past in the kids' story. They're barely 6 years old. Just kids. If he leaves them now, they'll starve. Meet Millie and Rio. They ask for his name, but he tells them he's lying. Smiling through his pain, he greets Rio and Millie kneeling. He calls their shared abandonment fate and vows to do whatever it takes, leaving the kids baffled. He gestures to a pile of hay, explaining it's a warm bed for everyone. Rio and Millie are stunned. Millie stammers a thanks, while Rio realizes this guy might be okay. They shout, "Bed ready?" He collapses onto the hay as rain hammers outside exhausted. The scent feels weirdly nostalgic despite never sleeping here, and he drifts off into a bizarre dream. A small fist slams Lime's cheek, jolting him awake. He winces, groggily muttering as he tries to process the hit. He sits up to find Rio and Millie sleeping right beside him. Surprised, he whispers their names as they huddle close, hands nearly touching. He sighs with a faint smile. Giving in, he settles back between them and sinks into their warmth. Two kids bolt awake with boundless energy, cheering about how soft the bed is. Lon lies still, eyes shut. He never saw this coming. Now, a new worry hits. How's he gonna feed them tomorrow? Elsewhere, an alarm screams through the dark. It's 3:50 a.m. A sharp noise jolts this pointed-eared teen awake. He's late for milking. He bolts up in the pitch-black morning, realizing the farm day has already started. He bursts into the barn, panicking, but a stern old man is already there to grill him for being late. He points to the stalls, warning him to quiet down before he spooks the cows. Bowing low, he snaps to attention. He's Fujisawa Lime, the farm's heir, and he's ready to work. Prepping, he reflects on his legacy. The Fujisawa farm is generations deep, and he's studying to take over the whole operation. Farm life's getting complicated, so they've pivoted to hosting tours and public events. The farm's cafe sells homemade butter, cheese, and ice cream, but as an intern, he's stuck tending cows and helping the shop. He knows he'll inherit it all. As he milks a cow, the foreman watches, impressed by the young heir's natural skill. Training kicks off with a vital pre-milking routine. The foreman explains Step 1. Touch the cow's hind legs to signal your intent. The foreman explains prep isn't just hygiene, it's a health check for mastitis. He demonstrates the routine wipe, disinfect, and rub before milking. Lime realizes he's got. Gentle touch releases oxytocin, boosting mood and milk flow. Lime practices the technique as the foreman notes, young cows are the best healthy and easy to handle. At Fujisawa Farm, a worker clears a cow's checkup and preps the milker, telling the beast it's next. The foreman mocks Lime's clumsiness despite his skill with cows. Lime blames his lateness on oversleeping, so the unimpressed boss orders him to start cleaning the barn and feeding the ha. His father's lesson sticks. Treat cows like royalty for the best milk. By prioritizing comfort, hygiene, and health, he keeps grinding on the farm despite the struggle. Elsewhere, Lime wakes up and stretches, satisfied with a hard day's work. It's 9:56. He skips the alarm and immediately crashes back to sleep. His eyes snap open as realization hits. Joel snaps upright, panicking. It's milking time. Waking up dazed on a pile of hay, he remembers he ducked into this barn to escape the rain and passed out. He sits up, asking what happened, as Millie stirs beside him with a sleepy greeting. She apologizes for waking him to nice weather as he spots Millie and Rio still out cold in the hay. Stepping out with Millie, he recalls yesterday and wonders how Charu's doing. He scans the massive field. It's huge but completely overgrown. He checks the grass. It's solid. A little work and this land becomes prime livestock pasture. A vivid vision hits him. A man in strange clothes tending a cow. He knows farming perfectly despite zero memory of it, but he shakes off the absurd thought. Millie snaps him back, asking who runs the farm. He has no clue, but that weird feeling one to leave. Are these flashes? Memories from a past life? He sees the man farming again and wonders, was he a farmer before? He asks what they eat, and she reveals they've survived on nothing but milk for a month completely alone. Realizing the place is abandoned, he sits in the tall grass. The girl joins him, playing with a blade as he murmurs his agreement. Strange knowledge floods his mind. Why does he know how to handle cows? Past life memory or not, a plan clicks. His face hardens. This is his shot. Betrayed and dumped by his old party, Lime stares at his hand. His unique growth skill is his ticket to freedom. If he fixes this farm, he'll build a life where no one can. Decision made, he stands tall. Millie the cat girl is confused, but he's already grabbing old tools to clean the cow sheet. Time to work. Lime tells the kids the cows shouldn't live in this filth. Clean it up, and they'll get delicious milk. Millie's ears twitch with excitement as Lime pushes them to finish fast. Rio and Millie shout their support instantly. Lime grins, ordering them to haul the old straw outside. They work with insane energy. Lime's stunned these kids are way tougher than humans, and they're doing it all for the milk. Teamwork pays off and the stall is spotless Lime. Thanks the crew, ordering fresh straw next as the kids beam with pride. Filthy from work, the group finds an old well. Lime heaves against the rusty pump, desperate for a wash, but wonders if the ancient thing still works. He fights the rusty pump handle as the kids pile on. He can do it alone together. They give it everything. Water blasts from the spout and the kids erupt in cheers as they're soaked. He wipes away sweat, relieved they finally have enough to survive. Water's sorted. He spots a nearby shack and claims it. It's a total dump, but beats sleeping with cows. He steps inside and chokes on dust. The place is buried in filth and garbage. He can barely breathe time for a massive deep clean. He jumps into action, ordering the kids to throw open the windows and clear the dust. He barks orders as they work dump the trash and scrub the floors. The kids dive in, scrubbing the floors with everything they've got. The girl vows to wipe it all down next, determined to make the place spotless. They admired their work. The filthy kitchen was now spotless, and the kids stared in awe at their new home. Everyone erupts in joy. Rio and Millie cheer for their new home, finally able to sleep in peace, while Lime smiles at their cozy new spot. Excitement vanishes as reality hits. Rio asks for a plan, but Millie drops the truth. They have zero food, they haven't eaten since yesterday, and Millie's growling stomach snaps. He saw their worry and promised they'd figure it out together. The kids looked up, torn between hope and doubt. At their new home, Lime tells beast children Rio and Millie the handouts are over. They're on their own now and must find their own food. Lime offers to train them with a smile. The kids are hesitant, and Rio doubts they can survive, but Lime guarantees they'll make it. Rio sniffs out salt and pepper in a crate. Lime's impressed by his beastman senses and suggests they head out to find a real meal. The trio steps out to a massive farm. Lime eyes the field, certain they'll find plenty of herbs and mushrooms. Neil starts lesson 1 in a field, teaching them to spot edible plants. He warns them to watch closely just in case he doesn't make it. He points out dandelion, parsley, and wormwood, telling Rio to memorize these safe plants. Rio finds 2 spotted mushrooms and asks if they re-edible, but Lime turns serious, warning him he's seen monsters that look exactly like them. Ignoring the warning, Lime schools Millie on mushrooms, explaining that bright ones are toxic while plain ones are safe. Rio's voice suddenly shouts from the tall grass, asking where they are. Lyman and Millie scan the field, but he's nowhere to be found. Only his voice echoes back. Millie can see over the grass, so Lime hoists her up. She cheers at the height while Lime apologizes for getting sidetracked. He hoists her onto his shoulders and she cheers at the height. She invites a pouting Rio to join them, but he flat out refuses. She spots a tree full of red fruit and asks what it is. Lime feels guilty, noticing that even Rio is secretly interested. He identifies the cherries, perfect for jam or pies, and Millie's hyped to grab one. Millie bolts up the tree like a cat, leaving Lime stunned. From the high branches, she holds up a fresh cherry and brags she's a pro climber. Millie leaps midair, devouring berries and shouting how good they are. Below, Lime holds the basket, thanking her but yelling to stop eating the harvest. Lime surveys the haul herbs, mushrooms, and cherries for dessert. He praises the kids for a job well done. He preps the fire, teaching them to use straw for kindling. After stacking the wood, he and the kids build a stone hearth. Fire blazes and Rio's stunned Lime suggests magic, but Emily snaps it's not for show, though she admits Rio taught her how to cook. Water's boiling, so Lon calls for the ingredients while Rio and Millie eagerly toss in the spices. The herb and mushroom soup is ready, filling the air with a rich scent. He serves the bowls, stops Rio from grabbing a hot one, and tells everyone to dig in. The kids take a bite and their eyes pop, shocked by the flavor. Even Emily and the adventurers are stunned. This soup is incredible. Millie the cat girl is blown away by Lime's cooking. He explains that salt and mushroom broth hit different when you retired, a skill he picked up as his old squad's cook. She devours the soup, wanting the whole pot. Lime realizes kids can to survive on just herbs and mushrooms, so he decides to cook a real meal. Eyeing the nearby port, he plans to catch seafood to boost their diet. Once the milk flows, he'll trade it with local farmers for veggies and flowers. Plan set he locks in. Chaos erupts. Rio spots a cow charging, but Millie's confused. It's actually a small cat creature leaping through the grass. Lon's shock turns to terror as the beast charges, and he roars for the kids to run as the monster closes in. He dives in front of the kids, shielding them. The threat is a scrawny, fast-moving calf. It looks dumb, but the danger is immediate. He tanks the calf's charge head-on, shocked by the young beast's raw power. As he struggles to hold his ground, Rio and Millie scream his name in terror. Let's include both if they are characters. Soul sighs as Lime gently pats the calf, whispering that everything's okay. Actually, usually in these recaps, he calms the calf, telling it the coast is clear. As it eats, Rio and Millie approach to check if he's okay. Rio lunges into a hug, calling Lime the best. Millie watches wide-eyed, agreeing, as Karen whispers his name. Aaron watches, baffled, as Rio buries his face in Lime's tunic, shouting they're safe because he's the strongest person alive. Her face softens. She realizes these kids are starved for love after everything they've endured. Seeing Rio's joy, she knows Millie felt the same. Lime hoists a thrilled Rio into the air. Lime calls it decent, but Rio laughs and shouts for more. Millie laughs on the floor, vowing to give them all her love. Karen realizes the kids just need affection, and Tom hands Millie the next turn. He hoists Millie up as she laughs, Rio beaming. Lime realizes that despite the coming struggle, he needs these kids more than they need him. 2 weeks later, the land finally looks like a farm. Lime, Rio, and Millie team up, scything down the tall grass. Milking cows, Lime credits their success to his skills and his friend's help until Rio sprints over, shouting about a mysterious stranger. Lime looks up, completely blindsided. Lime turns to find a fancy noble at the farm gate. He looks totally out of place, and Lime wonders who this mysterious visitor is. A stranger calmly asks if Lime restored the farm. Lime confirms, wondering if this man is the actual owner. Shocked, the visitor demands to know the timeline. Lime says 2 weeks, and the man loses it, asking if he's a master or a total genius. Apologizing for his bluntness, the man reveals he's Satya Langrid, the island's ruler. Lime, and the kids are stunned, while a clueless Rio asks what a ruler even is. Lime introduces Rio and Millie with an apology, but Satya's thrilled. He stays calm, asking if it's true, and telling Lime not to worry. Everything's fine. Also screams in shock. Lime, stunned by the man's title, questions his identity while Rio glares suspiciously. Satya waves it off. They're just kids. Lime apologizes and agrees to watch Rio and Millie and grab them some water. He smiles. This lord is way younger than he first thought. He asks Lime when he registered, catching him off guard and confused. Satya needs to know exactly who's on his turf, so he's launching a formal registration to log every islander's info. He holds up a tube of registration forms, asking if Lime plans to stay long-term. Lime confirms, realizing the simple stick is actually a container. He chooses freedom on this island. Memories of Millie and Rio. The food, the tools, and the moments flash by. He isn't alone anymore. He's finally found home. He asks Satya if he can stay forever. The Lord smiles, asking if he's serious. Satya joins him, noting he'd heard rumors of a guy and beast kids settling the farm. He's impressed they've already turned it into a model property. The old manager died without an heir, leaving the villagers too scared to take over. Satya asks Lime if he can restore the land, and with Satya's help, Lime accepts. Satya hands over a scroll. Lime's baffled, but Satya smirks, playing dumb worked, and everything's going exactly to plan. Satya reveals the papers are for taxes. Every cent the island earns this year goes to the treasury. Lime stares in shock. Taxes. Lime glares at the tax forms. The math adds up, but the price is impossible. For a pastor this massive, the tax should be huge. It's way too cheap. Confused, he hands Satya the paper, stammering. If the tiny sum is right, Satya reassures him it looks small, but there's a simple explanation. The math is right. Abandoned villages tanked the land's value, making it the cheapest in the country. Satya tells Lime to just pay the taxes and bring the immigration forms later. Stunned by the deal, Lime can only offer his thanks. Satya leaves, wondering why a noble lacks a carriage, while Mealy asks about the Lord. Lime tells the kids that man is the island's true boss. Wait, Sat. The kids are shocked. Millie asks about the boss, while Rio suspects a criminal. Lime orders them to respect Satya, their new guardian, but Rio's already wondering if they can just beat him. Millie cuts him off, pointing at a massive cow that won't stop rubbing against her. She asks why it's acting weird, and Lime studies it, deep in thought. She spots the cow's swollen udder. He tells the kids it needs milking twice daily and recovers fast. Seeing the animal's discomfort, he decides it's time to milk her. He vows to learn the ropes, but admits he can do it alone. From now on, the kids are on milking duty and they're shocked. The lesson begins: wipe the udder clean, then milk gently. Treat these cows like pampered princesses. Success. The kids cheer as buckets overflow with milk. He tells them, treat the cows right, and the rewards will keep coming. Millie tastes a drop. It's delicious. The kids promise to work harder next time. Lime smiles, realizing cows are simple. Treat them right, and they'll return the favor. 3 days later, forms finished, Lon hits Satya Langrid's massive estate to return the paperwork. Satya greets Lime from a balcony. Feeling out of place at the grand estate, Lime is invited in for tea before they talk business. He hesitates. Farm work's calling and Rio and Millie are home, but one quick cup, one to hurt. Satya Langrid pours tea on a lush patio, praising the perfect weather as Lime offers a quiet thanks. Satya serves Lime homemade treats meant for the whole squad. Lime spots the formal ritual and realizes he needs perfect etiquette before taking a sip. He kicks back, loving his independence. In the capital, being swarmed by servants always made him feel out of place. Aristocrats are born into strict rules and homeschooled, but Lime realizes Satya's behavior isn't noble at all. He flashes back to a childhood of strict rituals, constant surveillance, and suffocating pressure. He tells Lime he always had to watch his words and manners no matter the situation. Silenced and suppressed, he hid his every move, questioning his purpose. To him, this was nothing but slavery. He smiles, admitting his life lost all meaning the moment he realized the truth. Lime listens, deep in thought. Status is worthless here. Only actions count. Satya just wanted freedom. But when Lime asked what happened next, Satya revealed that's when he became the island's lord. He ditched city rules for rural peace. Simple food and local smiles gave him the rest he needed, making his old life feel meaningless. Pouring tea, he decides to stay this island was the right call, and Lime agrees. Satya eats a pastry, praising the island's low taxes and comfort, despite one catch. He notes Lime's a foodie, while Lime sips tea, savoring the quiet life. Satya drops the papers and ends his monologue, putting Lime on the spot. Lime's stunned. He never thought a reasonable noble like Satya actually existed. Leaning in, he reveals he checked the files. Knowing Lime was an adventurer, he asks if he traveled much. Lime dodges the question, asking how to address the Lord. Satya's confused. Didn't he already tell him? But Lime's distracted, held back by A. Lime fumbles for the right title, but Satya shuts him down. Status means nothing here. He demands Lime call him Sutty, and the flustered boy nervously complies. He sips his drink and casually mentions his exile. Satya screams the word in disbelief, the sudden outburst leaving Lime stunned. Satya apologizes for snapping but immediately grills Lime about his unpaid exile. He's seen the records and mocks the fools who dumped such a high-growth talent, leaving Lime stunned, and Satya stares at the paper in shock, asking if he's really kicked out. Lime quietly confirms the news. Lime's growth skill is insanely valuable, but his old team dumped him, claiming they were already strong enough. Lime doesn't know his own power. Satya says his team dumped him at max level, leaving Lime wondering do skills become useless at the cap. Seeing Lime's ignorance, Satya stands and invites him to the library, catching him off guard. He leads Lime into a massive library. Lime's floored by the noble tier collection, but Satya claims these are just the leftovers from a recent move. He pulls a thick book from the shelf and hands it to Lime the latest National Skill Guide, listing every known skill in the country. They hit the floor and crack the heavy book. Satya's goal is growth, Lama's in, and the research starts now. The National Skill Guide says good growth triples a target's growth rate within its range. It clicks. His skill makes everyone around him, allies and monsters alike, level up at insane speeds. He never knew his power was this broken. Satya asks Lime what he noticed. Lime's clueless, so Satya spells it out. Krot and the crew became powerhouses over those 2 years, and Lime remembers their confident faces. Satya reveals a dark twist leave the area, and your growth rate gets hit with a massive 3 times debuff. Lime questions the debuff Satya warns leave his side, and their growth goes negative. The truth hit hard. He saw his old party losing their strength and skills. Horrified, he stammered, "Is this permanent?" Satya calmly confirms the nightmare the effect isn't permanent. 2 months of growth. You'll revert right back. Satya confirms Lime's 2-year tenure, meaning the group's regression will last just as long. He asks how long until they beg for his return, leaving Lime horrified. In the library, Satya turns serious, asking Lime if he just said Cry. Lime confirms, and Satya presses is Cry his party leader. Startled Lime. Eyes shadowed, he grips Lime's shoulder, demanding to know if he joined that party exactly 2 years ago. Rattled, Lime can only stammer his name. Lime stammers, but Satya's gaze turns lethal. He demands the truth with a chilling warning, not lie. Satya leans in, voice low and deadly. He won to forgive this. Lime freezes, seeing a soul-piercing intensity in Satya's eyes for the first time. Terrified of Satya's wrath, Lime chokes out a whisper, swearing he's telling the truth. The tension snaps. Satya smiles, telling Lime her eyes dawn to lie. "I believe you," he says, leaving Lime speechless at the sudden shift. Satya walks off, thanking Lime for the truth and heading back to tea. Lime watches him, wondering why Satya was so curious and if they've met before. Sipping tea, Satya mocks Kraut's group, calling their failure inevitable. Satya thinks it's weird. Kraut's party clearly didn't understand Lime's skill when they kicked him out, and I totally agree. Satya leans in, demanding to know why Lime isn't strong. Most people train after being exiled, but Lime admits he never fought. He was just a tool. Satya asks if Lime ever modeled. Lime admits he got offers, but Kraut blocked them, claiming his level was too low. Everything clicked for Satya. They were keeping Lime broke and dependent to stop him from ever going solo. Satya stares Lime down, asking why he's doing everything solo. Lime's baffled, failing to grasp the hidden meaning. Satya drops the truth. They feared Lime's potential. They held him back and gaslit him into feeling weak just to stay ahead. The truth hits hard. Lime slams the table, roaring in rage as memories flood back Emily, calling them parasites, and Kraut's cold smile as he vowed to move on without them. Lime's fuming, but Satya stays calm, telling him anger doesn't fit and getting kicked out was actually a blessing. Stunned, Lime's rage vanishes. Satya sincerely explains he needs him and wants to fire him without cause. Moved, Lime whispers a quiet, "Thank you." Satya pours tea, calling the matter delicate, a 3-year-old issue unrelated to Lime. He suddenly pivots. "Do you know Kra?" He confirms it, but Satya shuts him down, citing that incident from 3 years ago. Lime realizes he joined the party a full year after it happened. Satya gets back to business, reminding Lime to list supplies like resources and kids' clothes. Lime's overwhelmed by the request, but Satya insists on learning now to stay polite. He denies any part in the other drama and hopes he never sees Kraut again. Lime's stunned. "You're helping." Satya explains the locals are rebuilding their homes to make room for a new grandchild. Satya Langrid urges him to speak freely, promising to grant any fair request while warning that their success hinges entirely on the tax balance. He hesitates, then asks for a hammer. Satya repeats the word, stunned. "The job's for the barn, a rotting wreck, one breeze away from collapsing." Satya nods. Satya realized the barn's condition was directly tied to managing the pasture. A shock proposal drops Lime stunned, but Satya's serious, just build a new cowshed and handle the rest. Shocked by the scale, he argued shipping mainland crews and gear in one go was cheaper. Satya agreed. Satya calls it an investment, not a favor. Managing the pasture revealed Lime's rare good growth skill. He orders the prep to start, leaving Lime stunned by his own value. He's baffled. Satya trusts a stranger so easily. Satya just sips his tea and reveals it's all thanks to his own skill. He freezes, eyes wide with confusion. Lime's baffled, but Satya smiles and reveals his power. Prohibition of lies. Satya reveals his secret. He can see every lie. A shocked Lime asks if lying is banned, and Satya confirms it. That's how he knew Lime was telling the truth. He's glad he's honest, flashing back to Satya saying his eyes never lie, the exact reason he trusted him. Satya warns he'd expel him instantly for forged papers, leaving Lime pale as he realizes the true weight of his authority. Satya softens, glad he heard Lime's story, but warns his power only detects lies. He recalls his arrival, glad to finally understand Satya. He thinks of Kraut and the old crew, but brushes it off. Satya hands Lime sweets for the kids as thanks, urging him to keep mastering his skills. Hearing the gift, he rushes back to the fields and shouts for Millie and Rio as they tend the animals. He hands the kids Lord Satya's treats. Millie gasps at the candy, but Rio's suspicious, asking what Lime's really been up to. Excitement kills suspicion as the kids dive for the treats. Rio scolds his lateness, but Lime just smiles, amazed by their speed. Hands full, the kids bolt into the field. He yells for them to wash up and apologizes for the meager meal, but Karen's already devouring a tree and demanding more. He watches fondly, sweat on his temple. The kids rarely get treats, and he wishes he could give them more. Far from Harumo, a mountain war rages. Kraut screams in agony, clutching his mangled arm as he faces a lethal enemy. In a rocky wasteland, Emily and Jack face a hulking dragon. It roars, its power shattering the earth. Kraut yells to retreat, but they're trapped. Dodging massive claws, he realizes. Battles are getting harder. Emily's stunned. This dragon should have been dead in 10 minutes. Inside, the party hits their limit. Kraut slams the table demanding answers, and Emily is just as lost. Anger turns to dread. Emily and Jack realize their attacks are useless against the dragon, while Kraut is stunned that his magic finally failed. He fears they've hit their max level and tells everyone to check their stats immediately. Emily brings Kraut a level meter orb to check their stats, and Kraut decides to re-register to officially confirm their power. Dark energy swirls in the orb, revealing a 65. The party freezes in shock as Kraut wonders if his level is actually dropping. Level 65. The party's stunned Emily and Kraut freeze, but Jack snaps, screaming it's a lie. He lunges at the meter to see for himself. Emily blamed a broken meter, but Kraut knew the truth. It wasn't a glitch, they were actually getting weaker. Now, he just needed to know why. He was level 100 before kicking Lime. Now the truth hits. Lime's good growth skill was carrying their levels, and without him, the buff is gone. The truth hits hard as the group panics. Jack mutters in disbelief, forcing Emily to snap and ask if he's serious. Eyes lock on Kraut as the big question drops, should Lime rejoin the party? The blunt suggestion catches her completely off guard. Emily insists they read too weak for the dragon or S-rank quests, but Jack snaps back. Lime is gone, and they can beg for help after dumping him. His words hit hard, leaving them horrified. Emily froze. Had they all been dragged down to his level? Her face hardened as Kraut panicked over losing his noble life. Jack grimly agreed, remembering when he starved for bread he's never going back. Despair turns to suspicion as he blames Lime for ditching them at their peak. Emily realizes the truth. Lime knew this would happen and took full responsibility. Everything clicks. Elsewhere, a mysterious voice questions her. Kraut's worried talk is cheap, but they won't finish the order on time. Suddenly, a voice shouts, demanding he bring back someone to take the fall for this failure. Satya Langrid plots a lie. Finding the target is hard, but relentless pressure will break him. They've rigged the game to make him dependent, with a massive payout as their last resort. Trot snaps back to the threat. That dragon is way too powerful, and their quest is officially impossible. Cut to a massive wooden house under a clear sky as a voice shouts, praising the incredible build. It's Sadius. He stands by Lime as she holds the plans and pats his head. Sadius claims he helped with the design, and Lime thanks him sincerely. Rio and Millie bounce on their new bed while Lime tells Satya the house beats any mansion. Satya stays humble, but Lime insists his help changed their lives forever. The tour continues as he shows Satya the new coop, barn, and cow pen, teasing that the farm's massive overhaul is far from finished. Surveying the new farm, Satya grins at Lime and suggests getting chickens, taking full credit for the idea. Lime's confused, but Satya explains milk and eggs mean endless treats, and Lime's instantly on board. Satya reveals he's already got some chicks, and Millie instantly falls in love. She begs Lime to let her raise them, and seeing her excitement, he gives the green light. Millie's gross skill made her chicks thrive, turning them into daily egg layers and securing the farm's supply. Rio wants omelets, Millie demands pancakes, and Lime's down for both. But Satya realizes it's already lunchtime. It wasn't just chickens the cows were booming, sending milk production through the roof. Satya already placed a massive order for next week, and Lime's confident because the quality is verified top tier. Business is booming. A woman tells Lime reviews are glowing, and with the profits, they're buying food and livestock. The farm is finally thriving. Outside the farmhouse, he reminisced about the taste of omelets and pancakes, until a desperate shout shattered the silence. Excuse me. A desperate steward in fine clothes sprints over, begging for Haruno Island's legendary milk. He demands their entire stock for his master, screaming like a total madman. A blonde woman corners Lime, demanding his entire stock of famous milk, but Lime tells her to pipe down before she spooks the cow. She snaps that she can wait, but Lime explains sterilization starts this afternoon with sales to follow. Nearby, a flustered Satya Langrid watches the chaos. Ignoring his warnings, the woman demands the milk at any cost and lunges to snatch Lime's basket. He shuts her down instantly. They don't sell raw milk. They scrap over the basket. She screams. Her master needs the milk, but Lime holds firm. She'll do anything to get it, even as the contents nearly spill. The noise panics Shiro. Lime shouts to calm her as the woman falls, but his hand gets scraped in the struggle, making him scream. Shiro snaps, sending cat kids Rio and Millie into a panic. They scream for Lime to save them from the killer cow, but Lime urges them to wait, knowing Millie named the... Lime smiles, wondering if the princess is mad. He tells the terrified cat kids clinging to his legs to stay quiet. Shouting only irritates the cows. He reassures his cow there's nothing to fear, while the milk-soaked stewardess mutters that she'll handle the mess herself. The cow's still panicking, so Lime and the cat kids shoo her back to the barn, telling her to forget the whole mess. He sighs in relief, thinking it's over, but the kids spot the onlooker still lurking and alert Lon. Satya checks on the group while the furious stewardess demands answers. Lime hands over the remaining milk, reminding her she's the reason the rest is gone. She snaps, screaming through tears that she traveled all the way from the capital just for that milk. She flees in tears, leaving the kids baffled. They wonder if they should follow, but Lime stays put. It's pointless. Lime kneels, relieved the kids are safe. He warns that a panicked cow is unstoppable, tells them to stay cautious, and offers omelets or pancakes for a meal. A week later, Lon drops 2 massive milk churns at Satya's place. Satya's thankful, but stunned by the huge haul. Milk supplies are surging. Lime confirms it. But even with everyone buying, the islanders can only drink so much. He fears overproduction will lead to waste. Only nobles have ice storage, leaving commoners with room temp, reminding him of refrigerators from his past life. An idea strikes. He asks Satya for an ice chamber and some sugar. He plans to turn the extra milk into a treat Satya's in, offering up his ice chamber and supplies. Lime promises payback, but Satya just wants a taste of his cooking. Deal struck, Satya leads him to the back storage and ice room. Sugar and ice secured, he gets to work as the pot bubbles on the stove. He stirs the pot carefully, ensuring nothing burns. The milk thickens and browns. He pours it onto a tray and rushes to the ice chamber. Lime presents his creation to Satya, fresh caramel. He explains it's eaten once it hardens. Satya's never seen anything like it and asks if it's an original invention. He admits he made this in his past life, and while Satya reels, Lime sends him back to the farm. Satya stops him, wheels turning. He asks if Lime can cook more than just sweets with enough ingredients, catching him off guard. Satya ignores his stammering, bringing up a famous mainland butter pie. Lime remembers it instantly, so Satya grabs a quill and paper, demanding he start writing now. He sketches the cream-filled pie he's hunting for. Lime's eyes go wide as an impossible memory hits her. He grabs Satya's drawing, admitting it's possible but tough to bake. Then, a name hits him. Meritazzo. It was a hit in his old world. Satya suggests visiting Tommy the baker, but Lime hesitates to bother him. Satya snaps, demanding to know why the milk surplus dessert isn't finished and calling Lime out for losing focus. Satya gets dead serious, claiming he sacrificed everything for one pastry. His intensity leaves. Lime flustered and unable to say no. Satya beams, immediately pushing Lime to take a bite. Satya thanks Lime, admitting the pastry triggers old memories. Lime's shocked by his rare vulnerability. Satya flashes back to his kind yet demanding mother. This pastry was their final meal together. Present day. Satya cheers him on, still processing the heavy request. Lime nods. Satya insists on trying his caramel too. A grand mansion flashes in his mind. Satya admits it's blackmail, but the situation is way more complex. Apron on. Lime's determined to recreate Satya's precious pastry. He preps the flour, sugar, and salt, readying the milk and eggs. It's time to bake. Lime starts the dough, teaching the cat kids the oil trick. Hearing it's for Lord Satya, Rio and Millie beg for a taste, catching Lime off guard. They ask if it'll be tasty. Lime's unsure it'll work, but he's whipping up his best caramel for them. He shapes the rested dough and heads to the bakery to deliver it to Tommy. He hits the bakery and asks Tommy to help with the Lord is bread Tommy S on it. While it bakes, Lime rushes home to whip up fresh cream. Tommy serves the rolls as Lime eyes the cream, wishing he had an automatic whisk from his memories to do the work. He slices, fills, and sugars the bread. His arms are screaming, but he whisks frantically until the sugar dissolves. Satya stares at the finished pastry, eyes wide with shock and emotion. "Did it work?" he whispers. He calls Lime a genius, but Lime admits the dish takes way too long to make regularly. Satya eyes the pastry, thanks Lime for the hard work, and asks for a taste. Lime gives the nod. He takes a bite with a nostalgic smile, calling it the taste of a memory. Watching him, Lime finally feels the weight of Satya's emotions. In a quiet garden, Lime and Satya Langrid sit over dessert as Satya grabs a fork, ready for the first bite. Satya stares at the treat, a taste of memory from his last meal with his mom. Lime watches, sweating, hoping his recreation is perfect. It's the Meritazzo. Stunned by the reveal, Satya takes a bite and savors the flavor. He beams with joy, thanking Lime for the delicious food. Lime tries to brush off the praise, but Satya insists this version is even better than the one he remembers. The taste sends Satya back to his dying mother. He'd ordered her favorite dessert with light cream so her weak body could handle it. Back in the present, Satya finishes his story. His mom died a week later. He still regrets his choice, but knows she would have loved Lime's cake even more. He smiles, asking for another treat for his mother's portrait. Lime agrees, glad he could finally bring Satya some joy despite the struggle. To lighten the mood, he offers Satya fresh caramels. Snapping back to reality, Satya apologizes for spacing out. Intrigued, he eyes the treat, pauses, and grabs a piece to try. The caramel melts, and his eyes pop. It's delicious. How can something so solid melt so perfectly? Lime grins, never having felt a texture like this. He's hyped this caramel is elite, perfect for tea, and a business idea instantly strikes. Satya halts Lime to talk business, catching her off guard. He realizes the high sugar cost makes this treat way too expensive for the locals. Satya explains that sugar and cold storage are expensive. To trade seriously, they need premium prices and noble buyers. Lime knows he's right. Satya stared at the caramels. His simple milk-saving plan was now a serious business. He's the island's only rich man, but real profit requires mainland trade and he lacks the noble connections to start. Lime asks Satya to sell caramel to mainland nobles, realizing his status makes him the perfect partner. Satya pauses his snack, eyes snapping open. He'd trade on the mainland but want to leave the kids. Caramel and Shiro's milk are hits, but they must manage the supply carefully to avoid waste. Satya backs the plan and asks for time to find a crew, thanking Lime and apologizing for the trouble. Business-wrapped, Lime tries to leave for the kids, but Satya stops him to offer a custom tea blend. She playfully suggests a future tea party, but Lan's stunned by her boldness, thinking it's way too much. Satya loves the idea. A flustered Lime invites him for tea, then instantly regrets the bold move. Satya eagerly accepts, staying the night to watch the work. He claims a spare room, promising the kids treats while a stunned Lime watches him calmly pour more tea. He leads the surprise guest to the main farmhouse, a 2-story log cabin tucked in the trees. Inside, Millie and Rio sense the visitor, worriedly whispering Satya's name. Outside, Lam tells the confused kids Satya's staying the night. Satya greets them awkwardly, but Rio immediately demands to know why the boss is staying. To smooth things over, Lime reveals a cart of treats. The kids' eyes pop, suspicion gone. They ready to feast. Fear turned to cheers as they begged Satya to stay. Lime rallied the group, announcing their guest wanted to watch them work before tea. Observation starts. Satya watches Rio milk a cow, Lime serves tea, and Millie charms him with a chicken. At dinner, Lime watches Satya and the kids eat, smiling as his guest fits in perfectly. Night falls on the farmhouse, Satya reflects, loving the change of pace. A week later, a massive new building towers under the sun. Back at the farm, Satya savors his cheesecake. A pleased Lime asks, "Is it really that good?" Millie's latest project is a cheesecake. Between milk runs, she blended cream cheese, sugar, eggs, flour, cream, and lemon juice into a smooth treat. Cat kids, Rio and Millie follow the recipe to prep a cheesecake, mixing the buttery biscuit base and pouring the filling for the oven. Another masterpiece. But Lime realizes they're out of sugar, halting production. Satya agrees. They need a delivery, then casually drops that the recipe is from his past life. Lime hits a snag. The farm's milk production is skyrocketing, leaving a massive surplus despite daily cheese making, while Satya considers inviting new residents to the island. Staring at rows of milk, he fears the surplus will go to waste until Satya suddenly appears with a massive pile of corn to share. He can eat it all alone. Since the islanders share everything, he brings the haul to Lime and tells him to pass it on. The massive harvest makes it click. His skill did this. Satya sees him frozen and asks what's wrong. He credits the massive harvest to his growth skill. Lime's too stunned to care, so Satya suggests feeding the corn to the princesses, pointing at a nearby cow. Princesses need perfect nutrition, not veggie scraps. He smiles, handing the job to Lime. The internet realizes the plan failed. Sati sits outside, mourning the wasted milk, until a cheerful newcomer catches him off guard. Sharp-dressed Rodyak Rembrandt drops by with a grin, finally finding time to visit Satya's shocked but happy to see his friend. Satya notes the light security, but an exhausted Rodyak admits he rushed over unannounced. Seeing their bond, Lime realizes Rodyak is a noble too. Rodyak eyes Lime, Satya's famous manager, and skips the intros to offer him a massive 100,000 gold a month, leaving Lime stunned. He jokes Satya would kill him for poaching, but admits they need that high-tier skill. He bellows for Frank at the gate, where the stewardess looks absolutely fed up with his return. Lime, Satya, and Rodiak face a troubled blonde steward. Lime stunned he recognizes him. Rodiak reveals the blonde man is just a servant, stunning Lime. He recalls how the guy recently caused a scene at the farm by spilling milk. He orders Frank to step forward and apologize. Frank instantly bows deep, shouting a formal apology for the trouble. He screams apologies for the trouble, admitting he got chewed out, while a flustered Lime begs him to stop shouting. Satya grabs the bowing Frank, demanding answers. Her lord wants the island's milk, and she was just trying to help. Rodiak tells Lon it's handled. He'll discipline Frank to keep him in line. Rodiak hands Lime an apology pouch. Inside are 3 gold coins, leaving Lime stunned and stammering that it's way too much. He refuses the pay, but Rodiak forces it, declaring a servant's mistake is always the master's responsibility. It's just tradition. Lime's shocked, but Rodiak confirms the stakes. Satya explains that refusing a noble's gift is a direct insult, making charity their mandatory social. Lime bows to tradition, thanks Rembrandt, and asks to use the funds for feed and tools. Rodiak smiles and wishes Lime luck. As the nobles leave, Satya realizes he was wrong. Rodiak isn't arrogant. He's a man of true character. Walking away, he tells Satya to try Lime's delicious dessert while he brews some incredible milk tea. Rodiak offers tea, but Lime declines. Rodiak calls it a pity, but Lime rushes home before the kids worry. Satya and Rodiak finish up Satya. Thanks Lime and heads out. Watching them leave, Lime's glad he kept his secrets. It keeps things light. At the gate, Rodiak asks if Lime's staying the night. Without turning, Lime confirms he'll be there for a few days. Lordiak grins, saying they need to talk. Lime turns, asking what it is. Later, Lime hits the kitchen. Millie greets him with a smile, and as she stirs a bowl, he praises her hard work. Rio bursts in with 2 buckets of fresh milk. Cutting them off, Lime praises him, but Millie asks if he milked those noisy cows solo again. He tells Lime the milk cures fatigue instantly, and Millie adds it makes her skin and hair glow. The kids beam, agreeing they're always healthy and full of energy. The old man credits his health to travel food, but Lime knows it's their nutritious milk keeping them both in peak condition. Everyone agrees villagers rave about glowing skin, healthy babies, and newfound energy. The exact kind of praise that's always hurt Lime. Lime knows they're right. The milk is elite, but moving and selling it is a massive problem. He eyes the farm, dreaming of mainland sales. It'd solve everything, but for now, it's just a wish. Silence hangs for a beat. Next day, Lime's voice rings out from the main house, calling his name. He spins to find Rodiak Rembrandt, and Satya Langrid. Rodiak greets him warmly, wanting a word, while a shocked Lime apologizes for his messy look. Glancing down, Lime's got a milk surplus. He hates wasting it, but sterilizing and bottling this much is a total nightmare. The nobles stunned they're trashing it, but Lime explains the island can't use it all. Even new products won't dent the massive surplus. He pauses, then smiles calmly, relieved. Stunned by the sudden shift, Lime asks what he means. The noble proposes a deal. He wants a supply route for the surplus. Lime's stunned, but Satya reveals Rodiak's been eyeing the milk for ages. Lime wonders. Rodiak. Rembrandt rushed to the island to verify everything before giving consent. He tried Lime's milk and it blew his expectations away. Lime's stunned by his energy as Rodiak admits he drank so much milk with his tea he couldn't even finish his dinner. It clicks. Rodiak realizes this milk is a gold mine and he's here to bring it home. Lime thanks Satya for the backup, but Satya brushes it off as just a few letters. Suddenly, Rodiak hands Lime the contract, telling him to read it carefully before deciding. Satya interrupts, giving Rodiak full credit. He explains, Rodiak personally started the trade talks while busy, calling it a simple result of their aligned interests. Overwhelmed, Lime bows low, thanking them for their massive help. He scans the terms Rodiak offers to negotiate. Satya calls it a draft, but Lime's locks onto the price, 520,000. His eyes widen. He wants to be fair, but selling too low means ruin. He stands silent, weighing the cost as Rodyak and Satya watch expectantly. He stared, voice trembling. Triple the usual rate. He asked Rembrandt if he was sure the price wasn't too low. Rodyak explains mainland milk is a luxury, pricier than beer or wine. He asks if Lime is clueless, leaving the young farmer stunned. Satya backs Rodyak, proposing they buy the surplus instead of wasting it. Milk is hard to find, and prices skyrocket during a shortage. Satya stares Lime down, insisting the price is fair and that Lime's original offer was the one that was way too low. He warns that Lime's cheap island price would crash the mainland market and ruin other farms, so they must accept his higher rate. Satya offers the quill. Lime pauses, then signs with resolve. Lime grabs the quill as Satya whispers to just agree the Rembrandts are loaded. Lime nods, while Rodyak watches, flashing back to his own penniless start at a ruined pasture. Lime grips the contract, reflecting on his success while a smiling Satya seals the deal. Lux followed him since he landed thanks to the locals. With the kids watching, he hires his milk crew and seals the deal. Contract signed. The steward panics, but a confident Rodyak thumbs at Lime, putting him in charge. Lime is left stunned and stammering. The farm's bad feeling just came true. It all started a month ago when Frank was hired to haul the milk. The man was a total disaster, shouting, ruining the work, and spilling the milk. Lime watched wearily while the others looked on. The kids are fed up. Rio's sick of Lime's noise, Millie agrees, and they both demand to know how much longer they have to deal with him. Rodyak briefs. Satya Lord Roderick chose Frank, but the two kids are way more skilled. He calmed the kids, telling them to wait. Once Frank got used to the work, everything would settle down. Exhausted, he orders the kids to the cows while he handles the chickens. They gloomily obey. Lime was spent haunted by the brutal grind. He knew it was time to talk to Satya. A scream shatters the air. Frank, the new steward, is panicking about a giant bug in the field. Lon tries to calm him, but Frank just shrieks and points at the crops. Screams lead him to a rustling field. With Rio and Millie at his side, he wonders what terrified the stewards. He pushes through the leaves and finds the source, a colossal armored beetle munching on the crops, way bigger than any normal bug. Fear jolts through Lime as Millie screams, "It's a monster devouring their crops." He freezes, knowing a human can't win, and desperately considers calling for a hero from the mainland. He's paralyzed by indecision until Rio shows up with a basket, asking about the noise. Realizing the livestock are in danger, sends him into a panic. Time's running out, but he still has no plan. Rio marches straight for the beast. Lime screams a warning, but Rio just looks back confused. He asks why, treating the massive monster like a tiny bug. Rio. The catboy stares at the massive beetle, shouting in awe. He asks what it is. The beetle growls, and Lime watches in shock. He fearlessly offers a bucket of milk, asking if it's hungry. Lime stammers in shock while Millie peeks out from behind. The beetle clicks Cuba, confirming its name to Rio, then snatches the bucket and starts drinking. As it drinks, Lime doubts this thing is even a monster, while Rio casually pats the beetle and calls it cool. Rio gets a plan and asks the giant beetle to team up. Cuba chirps back, officially joining the squad. The kids beg Lime to keep Cuba, and Rio vows to handle it. To prove its worth, Rio orders Cuba to lift a massive log pile. The beetle hoists them with ease, showing off. As they admire the beetle, Satya Langrid appears with a warning. He identifies the monster as a Heracles, a rhino beetle type, but reassures them it's peaceful, but way too big to keep Limes stunned is keeping a monster that massive even possible. Rio watches, worried. If the beetles snap, the herd's in trouble. It's too risky. Lime wavers, clenching his fist in reluctant agreement as he mutters Rio's name, knowing the truth. Before the verdict, Rio rushes to the beetle, shouting that it's obedient and begging Lime not to drive it away. He confronts Lime, reminding him of his own exile and asking if he'd force that same fate on the beetle. Lime freezes, realizing a banished beetle will just hunt other farms. As he spirals, Satya steps in. If the bug turns violent, he'll end it. Rio snaps that if the beetle goes, he's gone too. Lime realizes they share the same fate and decides to keep the bug, feed it, and put it to work. Eyes locked, decision made. Satya languid. He noted the delicate situation, both intrigued and troubled by the turn of events. Wait, the prompt says, the aristocrat side is a descriptor. Rio begs Satya to stay, but duty calls. Rio's thrilled when Lime lets him keep Cuba the giant beetle, promising to take full responsibility for the beast. Rio high-fives Cuba's massive leg, yells Beetles, and declares they're officially teaming up. Lime sees Rio's changed and accepts his strange new farm mate, while Millie peeks out, whispering she's no insect. Days later, locals gossip about the monster's insane work ethic, hauling heavy loads and tilling fields with ease. Satya and Lime talk over tea. Satya calls him a good guy, but warns the real threat is Frog. Satya checks in, and Lime bluntly admits he can't work. Worried, Satya demands to know what's wrong. Lime asks Satya for a swap. Let Lord Roderick replace him. It's a long shot, but he had to try. Satya hears Lime's plea and nods. He knew this was Frank's way of proving himself to Rodea. Lime's confused, so Satya drops a bombshell. Rodiak has a skill called Talent Review. Rodiak's power reads character, not job skills. Satya realizes Frank's hiring wasn't a random. There's a hidden motive. I still didn't get it. Satya was clueless too, but he'd call Rodiak even if he doubted the decision could be reversed. Days pass as Lime tends the cow. Satya suggests teaming up to win over Frank, but a depressed Lime barely mumbles a thanks. Scrubbing away, he realized Rodiak wouldn't change. His skill confirmed Rodiak wasn't lying, leaving him frustrated and unsure how to handle Frank. The island's main port is buzzing as ships swarm the docks. Frank the steward hits the island docks, stopping an armored figure to ask for the nearest farm. Crot, Emily, and Jack thank the steward for his help. Frank reveals he works at that farm and offers to guide them there since he's already on his way. Lime looks up to find his old party Satya mocks his new farm life while Crot, Emily, and Jack loom behind, confirming they've finally tracked him down. Frank led the group to the farm, telling the silent crowd he just gave them directions. He leaves to deliver milk, proud of a job well done. Lime stares at his gaunt former allies in shock. It's only been 6 months, but Jack and Emily are barely recognizable. Satya snaps him back, calling him rude and demanding answers. Lime realizes this mess is a side effect of his skill. He keeps pressing, claiming Lime hid his skill. Lime's only response: a confused, "What?" Satya reveals he only learned the growth skill's truth on the island. He slams Lime for the deception, disgusted that a dirty trick caused his power rollback. Lime snaps, blaming Satya for their massive losses, but Satya pins the failure on him and demands he rejoin the party. Emily and Jack agree it's time for the weakling to return. He pauses, letting the words hang. Blindsided by the accusation, Lime can only stammer, "What?" His former team has gone soft, failing to even train back to their peak. They exploited his skills, called him a parasite, and dumped him. So why are they crawling back now? Lon locks in. He's an islander now and won't abandon his farm. Satya's stunned by the refusal, but Lon's resolve is absolute. He has no other choice. Satya fakes sympathy, telling Lime to cool off while calling him a coward. He mocks Lime for hiding behind the Lord's power, leaving the young farmer stunned. Satya's party leaves, but he shouts back that he'll wait for Lime's answer, certain even an idiot would see the truth. Lime watches them go and calmly suggests a walk before. Lime snaps at dinner, turning his back on Rio and Millie. He tells them they can follow, but his answer is still no. Rio asks what's wrong, while a flusty. Avoiding the worried kid's eyes, he claims it's nothing, then admits something happened before trailing off. He ditches Rio and Millie, determined to report everything to Satya. He reaches a massive estate. Are the visitors already there? Inside, Satya Langrid hears the report and tells Lime to stay calm. His farm job is safe. Then, Satya coldly vows he's never leaving the island. Alam's confused, but Satya stops him. Don't kick them out, stall them. He'll show his gratitude soon enough. Lime's confused, so Satya reveals he has business with the Rembrandts and his own family. He orders a stunned Lime to stall visitors for 2 days, keeping his reasons secret. Satya bails, leaving Lime in charge. A panicked Lime protests. There are no inns on the island. Does Satya really expect him to host everyone? He reaches out as the door slams, begging Satya to wait. Slumping against it, he mutters that he's counting on him. Outside, he's torn. He wanted them gone, but Satya ordered a delay. What's her deal with Krot, and why wait for Lord Rotary? He trudges on, already sick of these guys. 2 more days of this Satya's missions are getting impossible. A shout snaps him back. Kuba Millie! The cat girl sprints over, panicked, demanding to know what he's doing. Her panic is justified. Krot's party has cornered a giant beetle. Rio screams at them for attacking his friend Cuba, but Krot mocks him, claiming they're elite heroes doing the locals a favor by slaying monsters. Rio named the bug Cuba after the sound it makes. Millie struggles, gagged and silenced. Rio glares at the adventurers, the word hero mocking him. It's a total lie. Nothing about this is heroic. Rio struggles in Lime's grip while Krot sneers, calling the group weak, arrogant fakes. Krot blames Lime for the chaos, mocking his precious family and claiming this wouldn't have happened if he'd just come back. Lime snaps back, refusing to go. He's got a farm to run. Scott didn't flinch, offering a bribe to reconsider. Beside him, Emily fumed at the payoff. Satya stops the fight, smirking as he reminds Lime that locals must host heroes. He announces they're crashing at Lime's, then whispers a request to delay the party for 2 days. Lime's stunned as the kids protest the adventurers. Satya stays calm with no inns on the island. They have no choice. He tells Lime to use him however he needs. Lime finally relents. They can stay, but only in the barn with the cows. Millie's shocked, but he doesn't budge. Kneeling in the hay, Lime apologizes for worrying the kids. Rio says he's fine, but hates seeing Lime in trouble because of the visitors. He reassures them if they want him, he'll go and return fast. He tells the kids to watch the cows and wait. He'll be back soon. The kids are moved that Lime's still putting them first, despite the danger. He pulls them into a tight hug, thanking Millie and Rio by name. Holding him close beside Shiro the cow, he vows his love and promises to stay by their side forever. Settling into the hay, Millie asks Slime if he remembers making this bed when they first met. He looks at her fondly and confirms. David calls it a night, gently telling the kids to sleep. They settle in for the night as twilight blankets the land. Night falls, leaving one thought work starts tomorrow. For 2 days, Krot's crew sabotaged Lime, forcing him to cook while they slacked off and trained. Day 3. Kraut returns with Jack and Emily, demanding to know if Lime's changed his mind. Lime hauls buckets and snaps at Krot to shut up. Jack calls Krot an idiot, knowing Lime won to listen. Lime's patience is officially dead. Jack steps up, axe raised. Lime stunned these heroes are actually threatening a civilian. The armored man roars, promising Lime a lesson in pain. Lime stays cool, calling them shameless hypocrites. Jack snaps, refusing to listen. He swings the axe with a roar. Krot and Emily watch in horror, but for Lime, time freezes. He sees the blade's path and dodges the killing blow effortlessly. She stays cool while Jack panics, wondering if they lost levels. Krot is frozen in shock. Suddenly, Emily snaps, aiming a magic crystal at Lime. Krot screams for her to stop, but she's out for blood. Lime watches, knowing things just hit the fan. A voice breaks the standoff as Satya Langrid appears, questioning the noise and mocking their manners. Krot and Emily spin around, and a shocked Krot demands to know who he is. Satya Langrid, the long-haired lord of the island, steps behind Krat's group to welcome them as the titles Lime stares and utter shock echo in their minds. Krot plays diplomat, thanking the lord while Lon fixates on Satya's arrival. Satya watches with a smirk, wondering what Krot is plotting. Kroth turns serious, telling Lord Langrid his direct request let Lime join their adventuring party. Lime's stunned Satya demands an explanation. Lime ditched the squad for this island, so why ask for permission now? God asks to travel together, framing Lime's exit as a tragic disappearance. Satya watches Krod's polite act, realizing he's a chameleon who changes for every audience. Krot claims they returned for him, but Satya isn't buying it. He's shocked Krot would lie to a noble so calmly, while Lime stands there speechless at the massive bluff. Stone-faced, he clocks Krat's lie instantly. He knows the truth and is confident his skills can handle the situation. The crowd claims it's a misunderstanding and calls Lime a comrade, but Satya stays cold. He knows Lime was kicked out. Ignoring the rumors, he didn't care which story was real. He knew the truth and was certain this wasn't just a simple expulsion. Satya's gaze sharpened, reading Lime's ties to his old team. Seeing the boy's shock, Satya claimed him as property. If they want him back, they're gonna have to pay. Satya presses his lead, warning Krot that taking Lime by force is a crime. Krot agrees instantly, ready to pay any price. This confirms Satya's suspicions, and he smirks. Krot asks for the price. Satya smirks, pauses for effect, and demands at least 1 billion gold. The insane price leaves them speechless. Krot screams in disbelief while Jack and Emily freeze. Lime's confused. Is Satya serious? Or is this just a polite way to say no? Watching the negotiation, he realizes Krot's team is broke. Their levels dropped, locking them out of S-rank quests. When Krot admits they can't pay, Satya mocks. Krot's baffled, but Satya reminds him he can pay, bringing up the adamantite Krot's party stole a year ago and suggesting they just raid the mine for more. He freezes in disbelief, eyes wide. Behind him, Emily and Jack are just as stunned. His eyes snap back, reeling from the accusation with a stunned, questioning gasp. The accusation sparks a memory. Lime holding rare adamantite. It's a priceless mineral for weapons and jewelry, and Lime even suspected they were there to steal it. Krot panics, demanding answers. Rodioke reveals that 3 years ago, Krot's party looted a mountain of adamantite from Marquis Iseves and sold it. The records. He snaps. They didn't raid the island, so it's none of their business. He demands to know why Satya is meddling in Lord Rodioke's territory, where he has no. Satya scoffs. Calling a hero's work a crime is an insult. He drops a bombshell isn't forging a permit. The real crime. Krot freezes, stammer. Satya grills the stunned party, accusing them of forging a noble's name to illegally mine rare adamantite. He asks what name they forged, claiming any would have worked, before dropping the bomb they used. His name, Krot's, is left stammering in total shock. Shock hits Krot's crew as Jack confirms the name Satya Langrid. Satya explains they used his status on Seal's Island to fuel their scheme. Lime finally understands Satya's reaction to Krot. Satya reveals he was framed for an illegal Marlow mine permit he knew nothing about. Strict laws against domain interference nearly sparked a war with Rodioks. He settled the mess with massive apologies, but he'll never forget it. Krot realized he'd nearly forced Satya into an unforgivable trial. He remembered the plan Satya and Rodiok would arrest the culprits on sight. Satya eyes Lime and finishes. He lost the vanished adventurers, but Lime's arrival lured them out. This is his perfect chance. He claps in delight, his patience finally rewarded with an arrest. He even thanks Lime for the chance. Krot screams defiance, but beside him, Jack is already sweating and losing his cool. Krot tries to bolt, but Rodiok Rembrandt and a squad of trident soldiers block his path. The nobleman calmly asks where he's rushing off to. It's a trap. Krot's team is surrounded as Satya mocks their escape chances on this isolated island of elites. Nearby, a stunned Lime watches and screams Rodiok's name. Surrounded by soldiers, Krot and Jack clash. Krot blames Jack for the plan, but Jack fires back that he tried to stop it. Krot screams he was just following orders while Lime. Soldiers drag the disgraced adventurers away. Millie asks their fate, and Lime explains they're being exiled for crossing Satya. Finally, the chaos dies down. Millie and Rio ask if they're staying for good. Lime smiles, pulls them into a hug, and confirms it. The kids cheer. Their normal lives are finally back. Rio and Millie sprint ahead, but Lime freezes at the door. His home is a total wreck. He can't believe this much damage happened in just 2 days. He steps into total chaos. Expecting the worst, he sends the kids to explore and sighs at the massive mess. The door clicks open. It's Rodiok Rembrandt and Satya Langrid. Rodiok cheerfully congratulates him, but a stunned Lime gestures at the mess, stammering to ask if they know. Rodiok apologizes for the trouble while a confused Lime listens. He explains that hand-picking elite soldiers took time, but he's glad it's finally settled. He's furious they kept him in the dark, but Satya and Rodiak explain they needed total secrecy to trap Croc and prevent any leaks. Rodiak calls Lime too soft, knowing he'd protect his old crew. Then he drops the bomb. Frank was the true hero. Lime screams in disbelief. He confirms Lime's shock. Frank has a photographic memory and never forgets a face, even at a glance. He breaks down the plan. Frank memorized sketches of Croc's crew. When they hit the port, he recognized the thieves and instantly sent word. Rodiak laughs, noting Frank's ID made the capture easy. Satya's relieved the thieves are gone, but regrets the lost ore. Everything clicks for Lime. He finally sees. Rodiak drops a bombshell a former prince forged the permits. Lime stammers, flashing back to when Croc's party was cornered and their papers checked. He questions the throne, but Satya says he lost something far more valuable. Rodiak reveals the prince took the fall for the scandal and renounced his crown. Lime leaps up, screaming in shock. Lime freezes in shock. Satya begs Rodiak to stop, but Lime's reeling. He just realized Rodiak is 7th in line for the throne, outranking his own 8th place. Seeing the stress, Rodiak suggests drinks to celebrate. Satya hopes they stay friends, and an emotional Lime stammers his agreement. Inside Lime's trashed home, Lime skips the morning booze to clean while Satya asks where the kids slept. Satya thanks Lime but warns him to stay home. Lime claims he was just following orders, but Satya snaps back. He said to detain the party, not let them nap in the bar. Rodiak grills the captives. He reminds Lion he's still on milk duty, while Satya promises a victory party once it's all over. Alone in the silent house, Lime stands lost in thought until the distant moon breaks the quiet. The noise snaps him back. He's starving. He hasn't eaten all morning. He starts a peaceful day with cat kids Rio and Millie. He offers breakfast, but Rio shouts for omelets while Millie begs for pancakes. A month since the visit, Rio and Millie have settled into their new routine, hauling buckets and scrubbing cows. Lime heads to Satya's with milk, leaving the kids to guard the farm. Rio demands presents, shouting a final reminder as he leaves. He hauls milk along the coast. Life is peaceful. Millie and Rio are thriving, and demand is skyrocketing. He arrives and shouts for Satya. The milk is here. He finds Satya outside with a girl. Satya greets him warmly as she looks up, surprised. Her mind races. Is this the guest from the rumors? He looks respectable, but he's way younger than Satya. Mark geeks out, revealing she's heard all about Lime from her brother. The master confectioner Satya tells her to stop scaring the guest, leaving Lime totally blindsided. Satya introduces 15-year-old Mark Radamak. The family's next head Lon wonders if she's an apprentice, but Satya tells him to drop it. Satya grabs Lime's arm and drags him away. Lime resists, demanding answers while Mark watches in total confusion. Satya reveals Mark's apprenticeship and asks Lime to teach him baking, leaving Lime absolutely stunned. Satya explains she read about Lime's baking and wants to be his apprentice, but a stunned Lime wonders why she'd ever pick him. Lime argues the mainland has better bakers, but a desperate Satya begs for help. Satya explains the rush Lime's desserts are legendary, but his father owes a debt for help with a crucial license. Satya realized his father's savior was Count Radamak, the lawyer who fought for his innocence. He was dealing with a massive power player. Lime's confused, does Mark really want to be a confectioner after just a month? Satya reveals Mark's going abroad soon, but Mark clarifies as the Radam. Satya begs Lime for a favor, promising his help in return. Lime's baffled, why spend a month learning to bake just to go abroad? Mark Langrid pounces on her brother's back, startling them both as she asks what they were talking about. She loves the lime treat her brother mentioned, so Mark vows to master the recipe for global fame, leaving Satya stunned. He keeps begging Lime while Mark doubts the 1-month deadline, but she's determined to give it her all. He thanks Lime and shocks the group, proposing they train at his farm. Satya's stunned, but Mark's hyped, shouting, "To the farm!" At a massive farmhouse, Mark's already questioning why she's moving in. Mark suggests Satya instead, but Lime stays close. Her growth skill makes her way more effective. He shows Satya her new room, but Mark's shocked. They're basically siblings. Why separate them? Mark recognizes Millie and Rio from Satya's letters. Lime tells Satya to rest before tomorrow's training, and he agrees. Rio demands gifts, shattering the peace. Satya freezes in shock he totally forgot. Now, Lime and the kids are staring him down. Lime promises a sweets-making session tomorrow with unlimited treats, sending Rio and Millie into a cheering frenzy. They sprint for sweets and settle instantly. With a month left, he locks in, trusting his skills to carry him through. Training day 1 kicks off, and it's a total disaster. Smoke is already pouring from a burnt pot. Mark watches Smay's pot smoke Lime, in an apron and goggles, notes it's her 5th burned dish. Smay snaps, realizing cooking is harder than it looks. She admits she burns everything she cooks. Lime asks about her experience and she smiles. 0. He sighs, realizing he's doomed if she can't even handle simple caramel. Next day, Lime starts with the basics, but she immediately crushes an egg in her hand. Seeing she's a total amateur, he stays positive and cheers her on. Day 3, and Lime's still failing. She tries again but crushes another egg, sheepishly apologizing for how fragile they are. She finally bakes a perfect batch, but Rio and Millie's cheers turn to disgust. The treats are rock hard and salty. Satya watches, baffled by the dense dough, and Mark Langrid stares at her hands in the kitchen, realizing she messed up. Was that not sugar? She gasps, while Lime watches silently from behind. Cut to the lush forest canopy under a cloudy sky. Later, the crew feasts. Mark cheers that food hits different after a hard day, while Satya and Rio praise Lime's god-tier cooking. As she eats, she thinks their host is a good guy, just clumsy and childish. Suddenly, Lime makes a noise, snapping her back to reality. Outside under a tree, Satya calls Mark, worried they won't survive the month. Lime waits outside, wondering if they're still asleep. Inside, Satya's already up and sitting with Millie. He opens the door and calls for Mark. Satya turns in surprise and responds. Mark spots Lime lounging on her giant beetle, Cuba, as she asks if he's taking the day off. He's not slacking, just thinking training resumes tomorrow. Mark grills him on his studies, then spots a massive beetle she's never seen before. Lime tells her to focus and walks off, wondering if he was too harsh on the noble. Meanwhile, Mark kicks back on a giant beetle, enjoying the island vibes. Catboy Rio crashes her piece to play. Mark bolts up as Rio tells a beetle it's work time, triggering a sweet childhood memory. She snaps back, says she's leaving, and wishes Rio luck. He thanks her as the giant beetle stirs. Mark walks away, but she spots a handmade wooden slingshot in the grass. Rio grabs it. Mark asks what it is, and the boy beams, explaining the boss Lime made it for them. He demands the slingshot back, claiming it's his. Mark's confused. Is it Satya's? Rio's just as baffled, simply calling her boss. Confused, she watches the boy and giant beetle vanish into the trees. Night falls as the forest goes silent. That night, Lime, Rio, and Millie sleep soundly in one bed. Sleep won't come easy. Mark lies awake, haunted by the day's events. Restless, she heads to the kitchen. In the pre-dawn silence, she starts prepping, utensils clattering through the quiet. Day 7 kicks off at home with Mark starting his dough-kneading lesson. Inside, Mark's slumped over, out cold from exhaustion. Lime calls her name, snapping her awake. Dazed, she leans on him as he catches her, looking worried. Mark admits she's been distracted for days and asks for a quick rest. Lyman realizes she's even lazier than expected and turns back inside. Park catches a second wind. Aiming to charm the aristocrats, Lime asks about the deliveries, but she tells him to wait. Work calls the chores are stacking up. He tells Rio and Millie the harvest and weeding aren't done. They're disappointed, but he stays firm. He sighs, watching the sleeping cat children. The work is endless, even under the full moon. A noise snaps him back. He turns toward a door down the hall, light flickering from beneath. He creeps up and peers through the crack. Light spills from the kitchen. Who's in there? He steps in and freezes. She's got a foot submerged in batter and looks up, totally startled. He grills her for being out late, making a startled Mark yelp his name. Flustered, she looks away and stammers, "She's trained." He's baffled. Seeing her use a cake mold, Mark admits. She's trying to bake despite having zero training. Embarrassed, Mark looks away, wondering if he's just forcing the dough. He admits he wants to learn and tries to copy a technique he saw earlier. He faced the dough with new fire, ready to master the cake. Realizing why he was so exhausted, she told him to sleep so they could bake together tomorrow, and he finally agreed. Day 8. Lime hands. Mark a cake recipe to practice alone. Mark's shocked he's not helping, but Lime's buried in farm work. He apologizes, asking her to try her best with the simplified recipe Mark realizes he's practiced for nights, knowing this was too hard to do alone. Ben smiles, promising to make time and asking her to give it a shot. She falls silent, eyeing the recipe before looking up, stunned and thoughtful. Back to the recipe. She gasps, reading step 1, whisk eggs, add sugar, and mix. Following the steps perfectly, she beats the mix smooth on low speed, then folds in the sifted flour. She powers through the complex prep, mixing and molding the batter for the oven, but mid-grind, one thought hits her: she's exhausted. She scours the recipe book to fix her flat dough. When Lime returns hours later, she flashes a fake smile and claims she just stepped away. She pushes on, days blur past, and by day 20, she's at her limit, her will fighting her exhaustion while Lime and the kids watch. Another grueling failure. Slumped over the counter, she stares at the pathetic cake. It's nowhere near the perfection she's aiming for. He tries to cheer her up, but she snaps, screaming that this mess is all his fault. Waving the cookbook, she snaps. He swore he'd only cook by her side, then ditched. "A recipe alone isn't enough for perfection," she screams, calling him a total idiot. Mark fumes in shock while cat kids Rio and Millie remind Lime he's an islander and Satya's property. Her face hardens. She spins around, eyes blazing. "If he's property," she shouts, "then his first priority is her brother's orders." Lime calmly shuts down her demand, telling her she's mistaken. Mark is stunned. Before she can react, her brother Satya interrupts. While Mark reels, Lime confirms the grim truth by law: the residents are the Lord's property. Satya calmly credits the group's hard work and Lime's farm, reminding them they'd starve without the islanders, a truth Lime should know best. His gaze hardens as he orders his sister to apologize to Lime, snapping that her attitude fails as an apprentice. Mark's silenced by the rebuke. She grits her teeth in shame, but a worried Lime insists he's out of time. Satya snaps, trashing Mark for being Lime's doormat and questioning his self-worth before screaming his name and cracking him across the face, leaving the entire group speechless. The slap echoes Mark's rage turns to shock as she whispers. Brother Satya hides his face. Walking away, Lime apologizes, admitting things went too far. He watches them leave, worried Lyman demands they rescue Mark, but then backtracks. Satya shuts him down. Katya leaves to let Mark cool off, ditching Lime, Rio, and Millie. Night falls. A simple meal sits in the quiet, moonlit house. The trio eats in silence, their usual lively chatter replaced by a heavy chill. Rio admits it's boring without Mark. Lime agrees the house is dead silent, while Millie eats in gloomy silence. Dinner is dead silent. Millie sees Satya's fuming, and Rio loses his appetite, certain Satya won't speak to him. Breaking the silence, he bolts up and orders the kids to stay. He's going for Satya, and Millie nods. Wind whips through the trees as the sky darkens. Lantern lit, he steps into the twilight, brooding. They've never fought this hard before. He keeps searching, thinking of Mark and Satya. Mark was just angry, but he hopes she's okay. Elsewhere, Mark sits alone, shoulders slumped in dejection. Her sorrow vanishes, replaced by stone-cold resolve. She stood silent, back turned. Lime approached, saying everyone's worried and dinner's ready. Marce's cold reply. So what? He stopped and called her name. Training was over, but Lime noticed her acting strange. He asked what was wrong, catching her off guard. Lime finds her slumped on the ground and asks why she's suddenly in a massive rush to make sweets. His question hit home. Mark's eyes widened as the truth sank in. Why the sudden rush? Stunned, she could only mutter a confused, "Huh." Lime and Mark sit on the shore by lantern light. Mark breaks the silence, asking for the reason. He remembers her words. Eyes shut. She rehearsed her wish to be popular with girls. Lime listens, stone-faced. He rejects her excuse, noting she tried way too hard. He reminds her how Satya's anger broke her, leaving Mark off guard wondering if Satya is her real motivation. He pushes her. What if the truth leaves her helpless? Finally, he confesses he doesn't want her to leave or clash with Satya. Her expression softens, recalling childhood summers at Satya's massive estate, the place that shaped her. Mark flashes back to Satya crushing his mom at chess. She was a natural genius at every game and learned everything from her brother. Memories flash by Satya teaching her to fish, use a knife, and gifting her a slingshot. She followed her hero everywhere, but the warmth vanishes when she mentions one fateful summer. She remembers sprinting through the woods. Ecstatic Satya chased her, shouting warnings she completely ignored. One slip turns fatal. She plunges down the jagged rocks while Satya watches from the top, screaming in horror. He scales the cliff to save her, but the rock crumbles. He plunges down, mangling his leg and landing right beside her as Mark screams a warning. He promised help, but as night fell, hope died. Trapped at the cliff's base, they faced a terrifying night, wondering if they'd ever make it out. Despite the danger, Satya shares his food. Her stomach growls. She stares at the scrap, eyes hardening with new resolve. Mark bites into Satya's food, but it's rock hard and salty. Satya explains it's just a standard adventurer's emergency ration. One bite and power surges back. Strange taste, but she's fully restored. The taste triggers a memory her brother protecting her through a terrifying night. He was just as scared, but he stayed by her side until help arrived. Satya's mom snaps her back, blaming her for the danger since Mark was distracted. Mark's stunned and protests the accusation. The woman punishes Satya instead of Mark, locking him in the meditation room all day. Mark screams to take the blame, but the heavy doors slam shut, ignoring her pleas. Outside, a crushed Mark reveals the incident happened on her brother's birthday, leaving Lime stunned. He stares her down as the truth hits the party's canceled, and it's all her fault. Clinging to Mark, she confesses Satya took the fall for her. If he'd told the truth, she'd be finished. Instead, she watched him take the blame. Her brother joined the royals, making visits rare. Mark was desperate to apologize and repay his kindness. She steeled her resolve. Leaving to study meant years away, and with her brother's birthday just a month off, time was ticking. She chose Lime because her brother's letter raved about his sweets. Lime's stunned. She's ditching her study abroad trip in 2 months just for dessert. It clicked. She's throwing her brother a birthday party to make up for the one she ruined long ago. Mark looked away, regretting her lies and her brother's anger. Suddenly, Lime bolted up, catching her off guard. He looks at her, determined. If that's her goal, they're making it happen. He suggests baking sweets and throwing a birthday party for her brother, and Mark finally looks up. Lime asks if she's really okay leaving things with Satya. She firmly vows to fix it, and Lime smiles, offering to help her succeed. She's determined but a total mess in the kitchen. Lime smiles, seeing she hasn't changed, while Mark panics they've only got 10 days left. Day 21, and the pressure is peaking. Lime knows Satya only accepts perfection, but their biscuits are still trash, and Mark is hitting his absolute limit. A plan hits him. Satya's struggle is about memories, so they'll recreate a taste from his past. Mark, exhausted, just stares back in total confusion. He handles the prep so she can focus on baking, but cookies alone want to cut it. He reminds her of the ones Satya gave her when they fell off the cliff. Lime asks if they were square. Mark confirms, confused. Square, hard, salty. It clicks. That wasn't a sweet. It was an emergency ration. In the kitchen, Lime realizes it was never about cookies. Mark Langford announces 9 days of hellish training, confident they'll survive. Day 30, Lime greets Satya Langrid, who notes how rare this tea invitation is. He steps inside to a roar as Rio and Millie wave flowers, shouting, "Happy birthday, boss!" Satya's stunned decorations and a birthday banner fill the room, leaving him speechless and totally bewildered. His sister Mark speaks first, calling him brother. She apologizes for the tea incident, admits she was wrong, and already made peace with Lash. Mark serves galettes to apologize for ruining Satya's childhood birthday. Nostalgia hits as Satya recognizes the snack and Mark tells him to eat. He remembers falling from the cliff. Mark reveals she only made galettes, while Lime prepped the entire feast. Satya's stunned she'd completely forgotten. Satya takes a bite, lost in thought as Million and Rio remember their shared treats. Overwhelmed, Satya thanks Mark through tears for the meal she made just for him. Etude exits, smiling. Lime congratulates Mark, but she hides her face in embarrassment. Wait, Mark is the one being congratulated. Gratitude leaves smiling. Sensing the shift, she turns as Mark reveals her birthday is next month. The truth hits hard. She breaks down, screaming a desperate apology for the mix-up. Satya comforts the distraught girl, telling her that her growth and effort mean everything. With the drama over, he calls everyone to the table to dig into her meal. Departure day is here. As the ship pulls away, she waves goodbye, thanking Lime for everything and promising to return. Watching the ship vanish, Satya asks about Mark's power. Lime remembers his grind and her own good growth skill. Good growth doubles all skills used on her, proving Mark's resolve. Now, his ban on Lie's skill is twice as strong, and Satya looks dead serious. He never knew Mark was this clumsy. Lime's mind raced, calculating that with growth, his skill would hit 6 times the speed. What kind of monster would Mark become? But one worry remained. On the departing ship, they look back at Mark. She waves, telling them to trust her grit. Satya then turns to Lime, revealing Mark told him a secret. Mark reveals Lime was a total delinquent who taught him slingshots, traps, and firecrackers. Ashamed, Satya asks for funny stories as they walk away.